You know, Amazing Atheist, you make an excellent point. I've talked about in previous videos about the Wa, or the Force, or the collective mind, psychic mind, whatever you want to call it. A superorganism makes a lot more sense, because it's the same basic concept, but it's not as inclusive. A superorganism is a collective mind, but it suggests that human beings can exist in multiple states of collective mind at the same time, which seems to be pretty accurate. The thing is that if what you say is true, that we as individuals cannot really change the machine that much, so much as it takes another machine to change that machine, then that suggests that we need to form, or at least try to control, a super organism in order to combat another super organism. In other words, take moderators for example. I always say the plight of moderators, how moderators are terrible, they're rapists, and they are. But nobody seems to care. And why doesn't anybody care? It would be to their best interest individually to not be moderated. I mean, to be able to say what you want freely and not be inhibited, not be told where you can and can't post, because frankly, there's nothing you can really do that's all that bad. To not be discriminated against, to freely have your Facebook and use it however you see fit, to socialize, to, get coupons, whatever, and just not be bothered with. Is that such a fucking terrible thing to ask for? Is that so difficult to give to people that we cannot just leave them alone on the internet? No. But for some reason, the superorganism doesn't want it. I don't know why. It's just, that seems to be the direction. Maybe because individual moderators like their control, and since they like their control, and typically people like to be controlled, it just jerks itself. It's just a circular argument. And they hide behind, it's their property, they can do what they want to. But if I started shooting up people, like that fucking Norwegian guy, that shot up a bunch of kids and shit, oh, suddenly my property doesn't mean jack shit. The gun is my property. So it isn't about property. It's about what they think is justified force. And it's justified force to control people's lives and control their information and their accessibility, but it's not just justified force to shoot people up for whatever reason. It's the same goddamn thing. You're hurting people unprovoked, and in fact, you're probably hurting a lot less people just shooting up a bunch of kids than you are, controlling people for a very long time. As long as these websites are up, they're going to be controlling people. And, at the end of the day, usually murderers are defensive. They're murdering out of a defensive mechanism. No one just kills people just to kill people. People kill people either for land, for recognition, for vengeance. Maybe in their own mind it makes sense, like serial killers. But in all, murderers tend to be defensive. And yet, we condemn that extremely. There's never been anyone that said, oh, murder is okay, or, it's permitted, it's a sometimes thing that it's only bad. No one's ever said that. But at the same time, nobody can stand up to fucking moderators, which there's no justification for whatsoever. What are they losing by not being able to control you? They still have the same website, they still have accessibility to the same information, they can still post freely along with everybody else. What are they losing? Nothing. And they are just one person. The moderators only make up a minuscule of an internet's population, and yet somehow get to do whatever they want and wave their dick however they want to, and the rest of us just have to deal with it. That does not make sense. So clearly, it has to do with the machine. It has to do with the superorganism. So then what superorganism is it going to take to fucking combat these moderators? I mean, because it's getting to the point where now they want to tell you what you can and can't have before you've even stepped foot on the ground. That's why Valve wants to start charging people based off what they believe to be a good customer versus a bad customer, and things like that. Is that what it's going to take? Is that what it's going to take for a superorganism to form against moderatorship? You know, Anonymous seems to be the closest thing we have right now to a rebellious superorganism, but even that is bullshit. Anonymous is bullshit. Anonymous has done nothing to help anyone. You know, fucking attacking Scientology and little girls is not going to change the direction of this machine. So, what's it fucking going to take? How many people have to die? How many people have to be controlled? How many rights have to be broken in order for people to stand up collectively? You know? And I would think that the more people are aware of this machine, the more they can bend it. Because if you are third person from it, and you can see it from a third person perspective, then that gives you at least some kind of leeway to bend it, I would think. But not as much as you might assume. You know, clearly I see the superorganism, and nobody's listening to jack shit I say. You know, I try to do what I can. But that's what I'm trying to say here, is that you are correct, but I want to know what we can do now that we know that's the case. We know that's what's going on. What can we do about it? Because surely life can be better than this. Life can be better than a bunch of snot-nosed punks telling us what to do. Life can be better than, you know, fucking just doing our thing, and then someone comes along and sticks their dick in our ear, and then we gotta deal with it. Something's gotta be better than fucking getting up and working every day for the bare minimum and just slowly waiting to die. There has to be more to life than that. I refuse to believe that we just accept that, and that eventually we die, and then nothing happens, we rot in the ground, go back to the abyss, the darkness, and that's it. Just no meaning to life, nothing to fight for, nothing, no glory, no retribution, no justice. That is evil. That is just the worship of evil, and I refuse to let that be the case. So, that's my reply video. Something for you to think about. See you later.